more than I would normally about cities and how they came to be the way they are and why some of them are working and some are not working and this and that, which, well, naturally enough brings me here. I've been, gosh, for a while now, for quite a number of months, rather than doing book readings, I've been doing these little events where 4 people or so, we talk about what's going on in different cities as far as transportation or bikes or changes that are happening in that city. And, there's usually an advocate, someone from the city, maybe a theorist, and myself, and everybody talks a little bit. And this one is a little bit different because, well, you guys already kind of know a lot of what those kind of things are about. You already kind of, we're kind of preaching to the choir here in the Tabernacle. Okay, so I'll get going. Some of these I'll go through pretty quickly because I think they might be redundant to some of you. This is Atlanta. This is Atlanta a little bit closer up. Okay, this is what most of Atlanta looks like. And this is sort of like where I grew up too. This is a city with high-rises. This is the termite mounds. These are high-rises built by termites. I think it's in Australia. And they're kind of wedge, or like eyeball kind of shaped. And they're angled so that the sun doesn't strike the broad side during the heat of the day. And they have air shafts that go up the middle, so the cool air underground vents up through the inside, so they actually maintain a constant temperature day and night. Something that we haven't learned to do in our skyscrapers yet, but the little termites have learned to do it. And they've been doing it for a very long time. And it's sustainable. You don't need to have electricity to do it, or any other form of fossil fuel energy. This is what our termite mounds look like. This is downtown LA. And okay, so this is, I do a little brief thing of my intuition of how we got here. This is a drawing by a man named Hugh Ferris, who in the early part of the last century did all these drawings of what this future cities could look like. They're great drawings. They're really wonderful and imaginative and kind of awe-inspiring, and well, you can see what the city looks like. These were done fairly early on, but they were because they're beautiful drawings in their own way, they were very influential. This is a plan for the city of the future by Frank Lloyd Wright. He called it Broadacre City, and he's a great architect, but thank God he didn't make cities. As you can see, if you're not familiar with this, as you can see that there's lots of farmland, and then there's one building over there, and then there's another building over there, so people don't really come in contact with one another very often. But when they do come in contact, they get to use these little flying saucers that we're going to have those pretty soon, according to Frank. This is an urban plan from Buckminster Fuller. Another, well, we could say very good architect and engineer, but again, thank goodness he didn't get to redesign some of our cities. This was his plan for Harlem in New York City. He wanted to have everybody live in these giant kind of cooling towers. And, well, that didn't happen either. This is Corbusier's plan, the one you're probably familiar with, this one, the Radiant City. This one, sad to say, to some extent did come true in many of our cities. Corbusier is quoted, you've probably heard the quote, that we must kill the streets. And to some extent, he's managed in many of our cities, especially in the United States. This is Futurama, I think it was called, the General Motors Pavilion in the 1939 World's Fair. You can see people's feet dangling up there in the upper left. And people would watch, look down at these incredible models of what the future might be. And of course, this was built by GM, which at that time, I don't know if some people here will remember, GM used to be the largest company in the whole world. Not just in the United States, but in the whole world. So they obviously had a vision that came from the biggest company in the world, carried some weight. And in this vision, well, you can see, it's like Frank Lloyd Wright's city. You don't get to run into other people very often. You kind of drive through, and if you live in that house, if you want to visit your neighbor, you're crossing like 10 lanes of highway, and you can only cross at that one spot over there. It's GM. It's not a very people-friendly place. So that with Corbusier and GM and whatnot, that kind of came to pass. This is downtown Nashville. This is downtown Nashville, and this is pretty much downtown Austin, pretty close to the center. This is downtown Houston, and there's two people in the street there. This is 11 o'clock in the morning, and around the corner there was another clump of people, and those were the smokers. This is what the real estate looks like in many of these cities that have followed this plan. There are structures where cars park, and other acreage where cars park. And everything that surrounds this acreage is pretty much what I would call a dead zone. There's no life in there. It's a storage facility, and it has no place in the center of our cities where we're supposed to be interacting instead of just storing metal canisters. As a result of some of these plans, a lot of our cities are in a lot of trouble. I guess we all agree on that. This is close to downtown Cleveland. Cleveland's like Detroit. It's having a hard time. This is a shopping mall that is going back to earth in a very nice way. There's a website called deadmalls.com, and there's a couple of others. There's some wonderful images out there. I went for a bike ride in Newcastle in England, and I was riding along, and then suddenly I was trying to stay by the river, and I suddenly ended up on this kind of highway. It wasn't my own choice, and came upon this sign that said, "Anything you say will be taken down and used as evidence." Well, and they don't mean evidence in your favor. There's nobody around, and there'd be no reason for you to say anything right there. But should you say something, a man might come out and take it down. This is a similar sign from London where they remind you that you are secure beneath the watchful eyes. This is not a joke. This is a real sign from London Transport. And, well, I think that Corbusier, and as beautiful as some of his structures are, I think that whole attitude there towards cities has turned the citizens, in many cases, the government of the cities is against its own citizens, and as evidenced by things like that. It was sort of us against them.